Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business, right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane. And today's episode, I wanted to do something slightly different. It's not slightly different. But it's slightly different to perhaps how I've been working with my clients and the members of the Joy Work Members Club. And it's also a really honest episode too. I want you to think about that if this year didn't turn out the way that you thought it would, if you're closing it feeling reflective, tender, maybe proud and disappointed all at once, then this episode is for you. It might also be the episode for you if you're feeling the pressure to plan, pressure to be ready, the messaging and the discourse that is out there around January starting in December, 90-day plans. And let me caveat that here. Some of that messaging is mine. I do believe that January starts in December. I do believe the action we're taking in this month is the momentum that will carry us forward in the new year. And I wholeheartedly live my life and my business around 90-day plans. But that doesn't always fit where we are. That doesn't always fit where our business is, where our life is. And even when we put the best laid plans in place, that's not always what happens. And I'm here to say that you're allowed to end your year differently than perhaps you set out, or perhaps what myself and others are telling you at this precise moment in time. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because the year that I thought I was going to have in 2025 has ended up being very, very different from the year that I actually had. At the start of this year, I had really ambitious plans. I had goals in place of what I wanted my business to look like. I spoke in the last episode about this podcast becoming a year old, and that one of the huge goals that I set was that I was going to record over 100 episodes, 2 a week, so it'd be 104 episodes. And people told me I was mad, and I thought, no, I've got this, I'm going to do it. And on paper, the year looked strong. Although I will say, planning this year for myself for the new year feels completely different. It feels strong, but it feels aligned. The goals are wilder than I set last year, but they're strategic. So whilst it looked strategic, ambitious, well-paced, I hadn't planned the way that I have this year that feels completely different. But aside from that, life then stepped in. Dramatically at times, but importantly, it stepped in persistently. My health took turns that I hadn't planned for. My energy shifted. There were things going on in the background that has affected our family and careers and my business and everything in between. And then through the lens of the podcast, some weeks recording just didn't feel impossible. It was impossible. Not inconvenient. Not, oh, I don't quite have the full energy for that today. I literally couldn't get on the mic and the screen. And slowly but surely, the year I thought I was having became a very different one. From around the end of February onwards. So very, very early in the year, it started to change. And it's only on the reflection that I see how early it started, but it was this slow progression throughout the year. And there's a gap that we don't talk about enough. The one between expectation and reality. The one we're very good, or we can be very good at business owners, as entrepreneurs, on social media, talking about the big goals that we set and what we want to achieve. But what happens in the space? What happens in the space between who you thought you'd be by now and who you actually are? And this is the bit that's been really important to me, because I could talk about income goals or where I thought the business would be or how many clients I would have and all of those metrics. But ultimately, when I think about the person that I am now in comparison to the person sitting planning last December, who didn't do a very good job, I will add there, and it just feels wildly different. But if I allowed that gap, and I will be completely honest and say that it has felt like this, but that gap can feel like failure. The gap between who you thought you were going to be and who you actually are. Or indeed, if you want to look at the business metrics, where you thought your business was going to be and where it actually is. So through the lens of the podcast, I didn't hit 100 episodes. I'll finish the year on 84. And for a while, that number bothered me because I had been so public about my goals. I'd been so public about what I wanted the podcast to do. And I was like, all I have done is failed. Until I really looked at what those 84 episodes represented. And if you listen to the last solo episode, you'll know that it was about 84 times I showed up when it would have been easier not to. 84 conversations that required presence and energy and commitment. 84 moments of choosing depth over perfection, showing up over getting it right. And that's when I realized that I didn't fail to hit a goal. I succeeded in staying in the game. I succeeded in staying with what I set out to do. I stayed with that consistency. And it's that consistency that it's more important to your planning and your goals for 2026 than anything. And not just 2026, any year, any 90 days you're going to plan. But that could be true about any goals. And when I look at this year, there is probably more failings or more things that I felt uncomfortable with than there has been smashing goals and reaching income targets, because life lifed and didn't allow me to do the things that I needed to do to get the business to where I initially wanted it to go. But as I sit here now, it is that reflection that is giving me the clarity and the power to move forward so clearly into 2026. And when you're reflecting on your year, it can be so easy to think about the things that the year took away from you, or the year that didn't give you what you planned it to do and what it could have done or what it should have done, instead of looking at what the year actually gave you. And this year taught me things that I wouldn't have learned if everything had gone to plan. It taught me how to listen to my body instead of overriding it, how to redefine consistency, and actually what consistency actually means. Because looking back, the consistency that I was speaking about at the start of the year, I think I was still trapped in the constancy. I don't think I had a deep belief of and trust of what consistency could actually look like, and how different consistency is for business own and how one person's consistency is wildly differently from another, but they can still be wildly successful. So there's been a real redefining of consistency for me. How I hold ambition and compassion, that actually me being compassionate to myself and having an awareness of my health and my situation, but also being wildly ambitious. Me admitting's maybe not the right word, but having the awareness and the honesty about what I want my life to look like, and the part that my family play in that, and my partner and my children play in that, and how ambitious I am in asking for that support to hold that ambition within our family. But I also have to be really honest that I do want to be the one to do the school run, and I do want to do all those things, because you can't have it always. And having that awareness within yourself, so when you're building your plans, that you're building in that you're building in the things that are important to you, that you're building in your ambition alongside your responsibilities. And going back to the lens of the podcast and the goal that I set, how meaningful it is when even one person chooses to listen. So when I look at my goals for next year and I look at income goals, audience goals, client goals, I look and think, and I'm setting some really big, stretchy, challenging goals, but it's exciting me. I want to remain with how meaningful it is when one person engages with your content, how meaningful it is when one new member joins the Joywork Members Club, how meaningful and important it is when one person joins my travel team. I want to keep that feeling because I truly believe, and when I go back to when I launched my business and I was doing a lot of work around the customer at the heart of your business, and I truly still believe in that. It's still part of my heart framework. It's at the center of it. And if we look after our customers, they look after us. That is what I've come full circle back to that if I look after those every single individual, the big goals will look after themselves. The big goals will happen. Whereas if I look at that, I want to have 100 people in each of my spaces by the end of next year, that feels huge. That feels untangible. That feels unreachable. But if I focus on the meaning of one person listening to this podcast, one person engaging, one person joining, very soon those numbers will begin to add up. And I want those people to feel special in my world. And when I think about the other big goals through the lens of the podcast that have been hit, we've had over 24,000 downloads. And I know there's podcast episodes out there that'll hit that in one episode or 1 week, and that's fine. But in a space where attention is harder than ever to get, people are so intentional with their time. It comes back to that every listener, every subscriber, every single one means something to me. But this year didn't reward me in the ways that I expected. I didn't hit the income goals I wanted to hit. I didn't hit the numbers in the membership I wanted to hit. But I did hit income goals that were surprising, and I found new income streams. I've introduced a brand new part of my business. I have a membership that is, excuse the pun, a complete and utter joy. And we had our last call, and the words and the shares from the members of how much they love the membership and what it means to them and what they want from it in 2026. And that reminded me of why I was doing it. And whilst it might not be doing what I want it to do today, the goals I have in 2026 are now fueled by knowing that the foundations are right. And how lovely to get to the end of the year and know that you're working with dream clients, clients that get you as much as you get them, and clients that want to stay in your space for the foreseeable. So it's about what the years do give you. It's about when you're reflecting, think about the things that have happened. And this year strengthened me in ways that I completely didn't anticipate. So when you're doing reflection, and I know it's a really busy time, when this episode comes out, we'll be 6 days away from Christmas, and it's a really busy time. You'll be overwhelmed. You'll be doing all of the things, trying to sort your business, trying to sort Christmas, all of the things. And when you reflect, it can be very, very uncomfortable, and it can be uneasy, and it can bring up all those feelings of, I failed in the summer and now I'm having to reflect, and it's bringing it all back. But you need to know where you've been. You need to have that grounding. You need to know those foundations before you begin to plan for the new year, before you think about where you want to go, what went wrong, what went right, how did it feel, and how do you want next year to feel? Who are you as a person, and who do you want to be next year, and who's the person that you're leaving behind? And if your year didn't match your vision, you didn't fail. You adapted. You navigated circumstances that perhaps you didn't choose. You made quieter decisions that protected your future self. Hell, you changed your future self. Your future self is already a different person because of what you've gone through. And adaptation isn't weakness, it's leadership. If you started the year with a business and you're ending the year with a business, you are showing leadership because you're making decisions that keep you in business. And when you're thinking about closing the year, and if you're not in the place where you can fully plan because you still need to go through this uncomfortableness, instead of asking, what didn't I achieve? Try these 3 questions. What did this year ask of me? I will caveat that, but this question really annoyed me when I asked myself because I felt this year asked a lot of me and not in ways that I wanted to be asked. But that's not the way it works. So ask yourself, what did this year ask of me? What did I learn about myself? What am I proud of, even if no one else sees it? You don't need to justify your year. You're not looking to answer those questions in a way that makes the year more successful in other people's eyes. You need to tell yourself the truth about it. Because when you have that awareness, when you have the ability to look at actually where you and your business really are, trust me, when you then do your planning, when you then do your 90 days, if you like to do 90 days like me, it will be so much stronger and with so much more clarity because you're doing it from a place of acute awareness. And if you have done all your planning, take this lens and run it over. Take this lens and make sure that you have that awareness about where you are and where you want to go. If there's 3 things you're going to take away from today's episode, and this is definitely about you holding yourself and holding your feelings, is 1, you are not behind. You have not failed. You are informed. You have information about where you are and you can choose where you want to go. Number 2, you're allowed to be proud of invisible progress. There might be progress that you have made this year that will never make it onto your Instagram grid, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And number 3, ending the year honestly is more powerful than ending it loudly. You get to have the ending of the year that you want and need. And it'll allow you to go into January so much clearer, ideer, is that a word? I'll keep it there. And actually start building the 2026 that you want. You're allowed to end this year differently, with clarity, with compassion, and still with the ambition and the excitement for the new year. I've just told you that I didn't hit the lofty goals that I set for 2025. And I've also told you that I'm setting even larger goals for next year. But I'm doing it in such a different way because of the foundations that I've built this year. I'm doing it with clarity and space so that when life lives, I know where I am now. I know exactly who I need to step into, what I want to be next year, and what I want my business to be. And that has been saying no to more things than I've said yes to. That is making my boundaries stronger than they've ever been. And that is about me building my belief and my self-trust to stick with the offers I want to stick with, the business model that I've got. And that's how I'm going into the new year, with a knowing that it is going to happen. And that's exactly what I want for you. So I hope you've taken a little moment today to take time back. And perhaps if you know me, it's not the episode you would expect when I was talking about planning, because as I said at the start, I do believe in starting your planning in December. I do believe how we are in this month is the momentum we go into January with. And I want great momentum early Jan. But I've done my planning according to that. But not everybody does, and not everybody's in the same position. and not everybody wants to come out the new year, new you feeling. And that's not really my vibe either. But I hope you've taken a reflective look at your year, and I hope you can then use it as power to move forward for the 2026 you truly want. But before that, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, if that's your thing. If it isn't, I hope you have a lovely break. I hope you spend time with those that you love, eat the food that you love, and spend some time doing the things that you love. Thank you for being with the Joy Work Show in 2025. It is only going to get better in 2026. We still have 2 wonderful anniversary guest episodes coming out before the end of the year. And then I might have a little episode coming out on New Year's Day for you, if it's your thing that you want to get thoughtful again about the year that you want. If you don't already, please, please, please subscribe, like, share the podcast. It really does help me continue bringing these podcasts out, bringing guests to you, and letting more people know that the Joy Work Show exists. I wish you a lovely holiday period and all the best for a joyful 2026.